All right, so get ready
Right.
because we're diving deep into a story today. One that's kind of like ripped from the headlines of a tech thriller, you know?
Yeah.
We're talking about the potential U.S. ban of TikTok.
Right.
And let me tell you, it's gotten even more complex than it was last year. We've got court cases and national security concerns and even like economic turmoil.
Oh, yeah.
And it really kind of touches on the future of the internet itself.
Absolutely. This is a high-stakes situation for sure, especially with the Supreme Court getting involved today, January 9th, 2025. I mean, their decision could really impact a lot more than just this one app.
I know, it's crazy to think that, like, if the court actually sides with the government, TikTok could be gone. Like, poof! Vanished from U.S. app stores as early as January 19th.
Yeah, that's a really tight deadline.
It is a tight deadline.
And what makes it even more interesting, I think, is the politics of it all.
Oh, totally.
Remember how Trump was pushing for that ban back in 2024?
Oh, yeah.
Well, now he's asking the court to, kind of wait, pump the brakes.
Hold on.
Yeah, he's hoping for a political resolution, whatever that means.
Yeah, right. Like everyone's playing 4D chess with this app.
Yeah,
So to get into all of it, we've got a whole stack of articles we've been looking at.
great.
We're going to break down the legal side of things, the national security arguments,
Right.
the economic fallout, and what it all means for the internet. You ready to jump in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so first things first. We got to break down this law that's like at the heart of everything. It's called the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that sounds like it's straight out of like a spy movie.
It does. It does. It's got this very dramatic flair to it.
Yeah.
But basically, this act, which, by the way, Biden signed back in April of 2024, essentially forces ByteDance,
Which is
TikTok's Chinese parent company.
right.
It forces them into a corner. They've got to either sell TikTok to a U.S. company or face a nationwide ban. Those are the options.
Wow. And TikTok's obviously not going down without a fight. I mean, they're suing, right? Saying this act violates their First Amendment rights.
That's right.
Their argument is, that they collect data, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone does, right?
Yeah.
Every other social media giant does it. And there's no proof that they say that they've ever handed over user info to the Chinese government.
Right. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, from like a legal perspective.
Yeah.
Because this whole case kind of throws into question how much power a government can actually have
Oh, yeah.
over a company, a foreign company that's operating within its borders, especially when you're talking about free speech.
It's a huge battle.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the Supreme Court.
Big time.
So let's talk about those national security concerns that are, driving this whole debate. The U.S. government's basically saying that the Chinese government could force ByteDance to hand over American user data.
Right. Or even like manipulate TikTok's algorithm.
Yeah.
To spread, propaganda. And they're not just, speculating here. They're pointing to specific things like China's national intelligence law.
Yeah, that's pretty serious.
It is. It basically compels companies to cooperate with, intelligence efforts. And there are reports, too, of Chinese TikTok employees actually tracking U.S. citizens.
And some people are even saying there have been times when the Chinese government influenced TikTok's actions.
I mean, that definitely makes you think twice.
It does, right.
And then the U.S. government's also saying that, okay, even if TikTok keeps U.S. data in the U.S., Chinese employees could still access it.
Potentially, yeah. And that raises some serious concerns about data security and whether we can really keep information safe in a world that's so interconnected.
Right. And speaking of interconnected, we've got to talk about TikTok's secret weapon.
The algorithm.
The algorithm. This is what decides, what videos you see. And experts are saying that China would probably block it from being included in any sale.
Yeah.
Very likely, yeah. And that's a critical point because without that algorithm, a U.S.-owned TikTok wouldn't be able to, plug into that global stream of content.
Right.
Imagine TikTok cut off from all the trends and challenges that make it, TikTok. It'd be a totally different platform.
Yeah, it would be weird. Like, is TikTok's success all about the algorithm? Or is it the community, the content that makes it so, addictive? I mean, think about all the trends that have, like, blown up from there.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure what the magic formula is.
Yeah.
But that algorithm definitely plays a huge role.
Yeah, for sure.
It's constantly learning from what people are watching, what they're liking, what they share, and that shapes the entire experience.
It's true. But then when it comes to data collection, TikTok's argument is basically, hey, we're just doing what everyone else is doing. We're
Right.
using information to target ads.
Mm.
So where do we draw that line, right, between like normal business and, actual national security threats?
Right. That's the big question. That's what it all comes down to, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like this balancing act between, protecting national security
Mhm.
and upholding individual rights.
Yeah, and it feels like in the digital age, those lines get like really blurry.
They do. They do. It's tough.
Yeah, it's like trying to hit a moving target.
Right.
And speaking of targets, this whole case has people worried about like the future of the internet itself. They're saying that banning TikTok sets this dangerous precedent,
Yeah.
that we're kind of chipping away at this idea of an open and global internet.
That's the slippery slope argument,
Sure.
And it's one that we should really consider, right? I mean, if the U.S., a country that, we champion internet freedom, if
Yeah.
we start banning apps, foreign apps, just because of national security concerns, well, that kind of gives other countries the okay to do the same thing.
Right. Like it could trigger like a whole wave of censorship.
Mm-hmm.
The internet gets fragmented. Information can't flow across borders.
Yeah.
And it weakens the U.S.'s position when it comes to like global internet governance.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it would be a huge shift from the principles of, openness and, working together that we've always championed.
Okay, so let's talk about the economic fallout for a sec.
Right.
Of a potential ban. I mean, this wouldn't just affect, TikTok's parent company.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about millions of users, thousands of creators, people who make a living on this platform.
Oh, absolutely. TikTok's a major force now, especially when you talk about the creator economy.
Yeah.
There are so many people out there who depend on it to make money.
Right.
They've built whole businesses around their content.
Totally.
If there's a ban, they're going to have to scramble.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube, Instagram, try to, find something new.
Right, right.
But there's no guarantee they'll be as successful.
No, it's a gamble for sure.
Yeah.
And then there are all these investors circling TikTok, right? Like sharks. We're talking big names.
Yeah.
Frank McCourt, who used to own the LA Dodgers.
Mhm.
Kevin O'Leary from Shark
Yeah.
Tank. All reportedly ready to spend like $20 billion for a piece of TikTok.
Huge money. A ban throws a wrench in all of that. Could shake up the whole tech industry. And who knows what would happen then?
So what does it all mean? I mean, it feels like we're watching this battle of the titans. Free speech versus national security.
Yeah.
Individual rights versus the power of the government. And the future of the internet hangs in the balance.
It's complex. So many issues tied together. And the Supreme Court. Their decision is going to have ripple effects. It's not just about TikTok, It's about drawing the line between technology, the government, and our freedoms in this century.
It's a legal thriller in real life.
It is.
And we're all kind of like on the edge of our seats.
Mm-hmm.
But even if TikTok survives all this, there's this bigger issue, one that affects everyone, not just TikTok users.
You're talking about data privacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we're really worried about, foreign governments getting our information, shouldn't we be looking at more than just TikTok? Every app, every website, it's collecting data on us.
Yeah.
Do we trust all those companies to keep it safe?
That's a good question. This whole case is like a wake-up call. We have to face the facts about data collection in the digital world.
Yeah.
Do we really know how our data is being used? Who has access? What are the risks?
Yeah. And those are questions we should all be asking, whether we're on TikTok or not. This case isn't just about one app. It's about how we deal with data privacy in a world where, like, our lives are so tied to technology.
It's true. And this isn't just a U.S. and China thing either. This is every country.
Oh.
Trying to figure out how to protect individual rights when technology is changing so fast.
Right. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Between innovation, security, and freedom. In this digital world that's always changing, it really does feel like, we're at this crossroads. And the decisions we make now, they're going to impact the internet for years.
Yeah, no question. This whole case, it's like a mini version of all the big debates we're having, right? About technology and globalization.
Yeah.
And who has the power in this digital world?
And it shows how much we need more transparency, more accountability. We need to understand how our data is being used, who's got access to it, all of that.
Absolutely. We can't just react with bans. We need a better way of dealing with data privacy. Strong regulations, countries working together, giving people control of their own information.
Putting the power back in the hands of the users, the people whose data is being collected and, sold.
Yeah, and we need to be honest about the compromises we're making when we use technology. There's no easy answer. But just admitting how complicated it is, that's a good first step.
We need to be talking about this, not just in courts and, government meetings, but at home, at school, in our communities.
Everywhere. This is everyone's problem. It's going to take all of us to fix it.
So while we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court decides, we've got to remember that this is just one piece of a much bigger story. The TikTok ban, it's a symptom of a much bigger issue, one that's not going away anytime soon, especially as tech keeps changing and our lives get even more intertwined with the digital world.
It's a challenge, for sure. It needs our attention. We have to think critically about it and be willing to talk about the tough stuff. Because if we don't, the future of the internet, the future of our digital lives is at stake.
And on that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive into the TikTok ban. We covered a lot, the legal stuff, national security, the economic side of it, and those wider questions about data privacy and the future of the internet.
It has been a really interesting conversation. Hopefully, it gave everyone something to think about.
If there's one thing to take away from this, it's that this whole thing is bigger than just TikTok. It's about the really tough challenges we're all facing in the digital age. And it shows that we all have a part to play in shaping how the internet evolves. So keep learning, keep asking questions, and join us next time for another deep dive into all the trends and issues shaping our world.